Gentlemen, there is one spot on a woman's body that reveals everything she is really feeling, and the moment she lets you touch it, her mind and heart are already yours. And I am not talking about some cheap pickup line or alpha male nonsense. Stick with me because what I am about to reveal will completely change the way you read every single female signal forever. I want you to slow down for a second and really take this in, because what we are talking about today is not surface level attraction. It is not about tricks, lines, or memorized behaviors. It is about something much deeper. It is about how a woman's body communicates what her words often cannot say. There is a silent language unfolding in every interaction you have with a woman, and most men move through it without ever realizing it exists. Not because they lack intelligence or awareness, but because no one ever taught them how to truly see it. And before we go any further, I want you to sit with something for a moment. Have you ever walked away from a conversation, replaying it in your head, trying to decode it? Wondering if she was interested or just being polite? Have you ever felt that quiet uncertainty, that subtle tension of not quite knowing where you stood? Or maybe you've experienced the opposite, a moment that seemed perfect, only to later realize something was slightly off, something you couldn't quite name. That feeling doesn't come from a lack of effort. It comes from missing what was already being communicated to you, clearly, honestly, and in real time through her body. My name is Mary Smith, and this is Chow Mindful Senior Living. And what we explore here goes far beyond attraction in the way most people think about it. We talk about human connection, emotional awareness, and the subtle psychological patterns that shape how we relate to one another. Because the truth is, attraction is not something that is usually spoken directly. It is felt. It is expressed quietly, instinctively, and often without conscious thought. So let me ask you something deeper now. What if the signals you have been looking for were never in her words to begin with? What if the clarity you have been searching for has always been there, just not in the form you were taught to recognize? Because here is the truth that changes everything once you understand it. Attraction is rarely verbal, but it is always physical. Not in exaggerated flirting or obvious gestures, but in the smallest shifts, in posture, in proximity, in tension or relaxation, in the way someone responds without thinking. A woman's body is constantly reacting to how she feels in your presence, and those reactions are far more honest than anything she could consciously say out loud. Because her body is not trying to impress you, it is not trying to be polite, it is responding to one thing and one thing only: how safe, how comfortable, and how emotionally aligned she feels around you. And this is where everything begins to shift. Because once you understand this, you stop focusing on what to say or what to do next, and you start paying attention to what is actually happening in front of you. You begin to notice the difference between someone who is engaged and someone who is simply being agreeable. You start to feel the interaction instead of performing inside it. Let me bring this into something real for you. Imagine you are sitting next to a woman at a cafe. The conversation is flowing easily. The woman in the cafe laughs at something the man says, her eyes crinkling. Real connection. At some point, naturally, you reach out and lightly touch her arm while making a point. Now, most men think the moment ends there. But in reality, that is where the moment begins. Because what matters is not the touch itself, it is what happens immediately after. Does she lean in slightly, almost without realizing it? Does her body remain relaxed, open, receptive? Does the conversation continue effortlessly, as if nothing changed? Or does something subtle shift? Does her posture tighten just a little? Does she create a fraction of distance? Does her energy pull back, even if her words remain the same? That moment right there, that is everything, and most men miss it completely. They are focused on their next sentence, their next move, their next impression. Meanwhile, her body has already answered the question they are still trying to ask. Because her response is not calculated, it is instinctive, and instinct does not lie. What is happening in that moment is deeply rooted in psychology and biology. Human beings are wired to read intention through touch. Long before language, touch was how we understood one another. And even now, studies show that people can accurately detect emotions like warmth, tension, hesitation, or discomfort through physical contact alone, without a single word being exchanged. And women in particular are incredibly attuned to this. Not because they are trying to analyze you, but because their nervous system is designed to constantly scan for emotional safety. It is automatic. It is happening beneath awareness. So when you touch her, she is not just registering contact, she is reading you, your confidence, your emotional state, your presence, your authenticity. If there is tension in you, she feels it. If there is uncertainty, she feels that too. If you are trying too hard, seeking approval, or pushing for a reaction, it does not go unnoticed. And equally, if you are calm, grounded, and fully present, that comes through just as clearly. This is why attraction cannot be faked. You can memorize lines, you can imitate behaviors, but you cannot fake the way someone feels in your presence. Because that is not something she decides logically. It is something her body responds to instantly. And this brings us into something deeper, something I want you to really understand because it will change the way you see every interaction moving forward. A woman's body is not just a physical space, it is a map of emotional trust, and every area of that map represents a different level of comfort, safety, and openness. Think of it as layers, not steps. You are not progressing in a straight line. You are being invited, or not invited, deeper based on how she feels. The first layer is what we might call neutral territory, the arms, the shoulders. This is where most interactions begin, and for many men, it is also where they stay. A light touch on the arm, a casual tap on the shoulder. These are socially acceptable gestures. They do not carry significant emotional weight on their own. If she allows this, it does not necessarily mean she is attracted. It simply means she is comfortable enough not to resist. But even here, there is information. Is her body open or slightly closed? Does she angle towards you or does she maintain distance? Is her eye contact steady and engaged or does it begin to drift? These are small signals, but they are incredibly important. Because at this stage, she is not asking herself if she wants you. She is asking herself if she feels okay around you. And that question comes before everything else. Because without that sense of ease, nothing deeper can happen. Now, let's go just a little further beneath the surface. There is a subtle shift that happens when interaction moves from neutral to personal. And you can feel it when it happens. It is no longer just about being comfortable. It begins to touch on connection. And this is where many men either rush or completely miss the invitation. The hands, for example, are not just physical contact. Holding someone's hand, even briefly, carries emotional meaning. It represents presence. A shared moment, a quiet acknowledgement of closeness. But even more revealing than the hand is the wrist. The wrist is sensitive, vulnerable. It is not an area people casually allow access to unless there is already a level of trust. So when a woman remains relaxed as you lightly touch her wrist, when she does not pull away, when her body stays open or even subtly responds, something important is happening. Her guard is lowering, not completely, not dramatically, but noticeably. And this is where I want you to slow down again. Because this is not about moving forward quickly. It is about recognizing whether she is inviting you forward at all. When things are aligned, it does not feel like progression. It feels natural, effortless. There is a rhythm to it, a quiet flow that both of you are part of without needing to define it. And when you are in that rhythm, something changes in you too. You stop overthinking. You stop needing constant reassurance. You stop asking, does she like me? Because you can feel the answer. And that quiet certainty, that grounded awareness, is far more attractive than any technique could ever be. Now, I know some of you might still be wondering, but how do I know I'm reading this correctly? That is a fair question. And instead of giving you something complicated, I want you to give you something simple, something you can use immediately. The next time you are with a woman, shift your focus. Not completely away from conversation, but gently toward awareness. Notice her breathing. Is it steady or slightly tense? Notice her posture. Is it relaxed or guarded? Notice how her body reacts when you move a little closer, when there is light contact, when space changes. Notice her posture. Is it relaxed or guarded? Notice how her body reacts when you move a little closer, when there is light contact, when space changes. Does she mirror you? Does she soften? Or does she create distance? Those responses are your answers. Not her words, not your assumptions, her body. And once you start paying attention to this, something interesting happens. You begin to trust what you see. You begin to rely less on guessing and more on understanding. And that shift alone changes the entire dynamic of how you show up. Because confidence, real confidence, does not come from knowing what to do. It comes from knowing what is happening. And we are just getting started, because where we are about to go next is where most men get completely lost. Not because they are careless, but because they have been taught to think about attraction in a way that is far too mechanical. And what comes next has nothing to do with mechanics. It has everything to do with instinct. Now let us go deeper, because this is where things begin to separate surface-level interaction from genuine emotional movement. Up until now, we have been talking about areas that are visible, socially acceptable, easy to interpret if you are paying attention. But what we are stepping into now is more subtle, more instinctive, and far more revealing. This next layer is what I often describe as the instinctive test zone. Not because a woman is consciously testing you, but because her body is responding in a way that reveals what she truly feels without giving her time to analyze it. The waist and the lower back sit right in this space, and here is why that matters so much. This is one of the first areas where your presence enters her space in a way she cannot fully control or monitor visually. When you lightly place your hand on her lower back to guide her through a doorway, or when your bodies come into subtle contact at the waist while standing close, something very specific happens internally for her. There is no time to think it through, no time to rationalize. Her body reacts instantly. And in that split second, her nervous system asks a very simple but powerful question. Do I feel safe with him this close to me? Not logically, not verbally, but physically, instinctively, and the answer shows up immediately. If there is even a slight stiffness in her body, a quick adjustment, a small step away, or a subtle repositioning, that is not rejection in the way most men interpret it. It is information. It is her system saying, not yet, or something here does not fully align. And this is where emotional intelligence matters more than anything else, because the wrong response is to push forward, to override that signal, to assume she just needs more time or more confidence from you. But the right response is to respect it, to understand that attraction cannot grow in a space where comfort is not fully present. On the other hand, if she remains relaxed, if her body stays soft, if she leans slightly into that proximity without thinking, if there is no resistance, That is something entirely different. That is her body saying, this feels okay, this feels safe, and that is where deeper connection begins. Now, I want you to notice something very carefully here, because this is one of the most misunderstood dynamics in attraction. This has nothing to do with dominance. It has nothing to do with control. It is not about asserting yourself or taking space in a forceful way. It is about how your presence feels when you enter her space. There is a difference between a man who is grounded, calm, and emotionally steady, and a man who is trying to create an impression. And that difference is not subtle to her. She feels it immediately. A grounded man can place his hand on a woman's lower back and it feels natural, almost reassuring. There is no pressure behind it, no hidden agenda, no tension. It is simply part of the moment. But a man who is uncertain, who is trying to prove something, who is seeking validation, can make that exact same gesture feel intrusive. Even if his intention is not negative, the underlying energy carries hesitation or neediness, and her body responds accordingly. Same action, completely different emotional experience. And that is the thread running through everything we are talking about. It is never just about what you do. It is about what she feels when you do it. Let me give you a real-life scenario to make this even clearer. A woman once described 2 different dates she went on, both with men who, on the surface, seemed equally appealing. The first man was confident, well-dressed, articulate. He said all the right things, asked the right questions, did everything that would typically be considered attractive. But when he placed his hand on her lower back as they walked into a restaurant, something shifted inside her. She could not explain it logically. There was nothing overtly wrong, but her body tightened just slightly. There was a subtle discomfort, a tension she could ignore. Now contrast that with the second man. He was less polished, less performative. There was no sense that he was trying to impress her. But when he made the same gesture, guiding her gently forward with a light touch at her back, she did not even think about it. There was no tension, no internal resistance. Her body remained open, relaxed, at ease, and later, when she reflected on those experiences, she said something incredibly revealing. With one, I felt handled. With the other, I felt safe. That difference is everything, and it is not something you can manufacture with technique. It comes from who you are in that moment, from how present you are, from whether you are trying to get somewhere or simply allowing the moment to unfold. Now let us move even deeper, because what comes next is where interaction crosses from physical comfort into emotional intimacy. We are now entering what I would call sacred territory, the neck and the face, and I want you to understand this very clearly. Biologically, the neck is one of the most vulnerable areas of the human body. It protects vital pathways, your breath, your pulse, your life. So when someone allows touch there, even briefly, it is not casual. It is deeply instinctual trust. The face, on the other hand, is identity. It is how we present ourselves to the world. It is where our emotions are most visible, but also most protected. We do not casually allow people into that space unless there is already a significant level of comfort and emotional safety. So, if a woman allows you to gently touch her face, to brush something away, to hold her there, even for a moment, you are no longer in a casual interaction. You are in emotional proximity. But again, and this is where nuance matters more than anything, it is not just about whether the touch happens, it is about how she receives it. Does she soften? Does her eye contact deepen, linger, become more present? Does the moment slow down, even just slightly, as if both of you feel something shift without needing to say it? Or does she pull back even subtly, because just like before, her body will tell you the truth before her words ever do? And by now, you may be starting to recognize the pattern. Each level we move through is not about increasing physical contact. It is about increasing emotional permission, and that permission cannot be rushed. It cannot be forced. It cannot be negotiated or earned through performance. It has to be felt by her naturally in response to how she experiences you. And here is something I want you to really sit with. A woman does not open up like this because of what you do. She opens up because of how she feels around you. That is why some men can follow every piece of advice, every rule, every strategy they have learned, and still feel like nothing works, while others seem to move through these levels effortlessly, without even trying. It is not because they are doing more. It is because they are being different. They are present. They are grounded. They are not chasing an outcome. And that creates a space where connection can actually happen. Now, before we move into the final level, I want to bring you into something more personal again, because understanding this intellectually is one thing, but feeling it is where it becomes real. Think about the last time you felt genuinely comfortable with someone, not just attracted, not just interested, but truly at ease. What created that feeling? Was it something they said? Or was it something deeper? The way their presence allowed you to relax, to be yourself, to not feel like you had to perform or prove anything. That sense of ease, that quiet comfort, that feeling of being seen without pressure. That is exactly what a woman is searching for when she allows deeper levels of closeness. And if you can create that, not perfectly, but genuinely, everything changes. You no longer need to chase signals because they begin to come to you. Let me give you something simple to practice, something that sounds small but has a powerful impact. The next time you are with a woman, shift your focus inward for a moment. Notice your own state. Are you tense? Are you trying to say the right thing? Are you thinking ahead instead of being present? Now, gently slow your breathing. Relax your shoulders. Bring your attention fully into the moment, and then notice what happens. Because when you regulate your own nervous system, you influence hers. Calm creates calm. Presence creates safety. And safety is the foundation of any attraction that actually lasts. This is not about being perfect. It is about being real. And if this is starting to click for you, if you are beginning to see interactions in a different light, take a moment and let me know. Even something as simple as, "I understand this now," in the comments can make a difference. Because what we are about to move into next is the final layer, the one that ties everything together. The one signal that reveals more than anything else we have discussed so far. And once you truly understand it, you will never second-guess attraction in the same way again. Now we arrive at the final layer, the one that quietly brings everything together. The one most men overlook because it does not seem as obvious or as significant at first glance. Content. But in reality, it is one of the most revealing signals of all, precisely because it exists just beneath conscious awareness. Content. And that is the hair. I know, on the surface, it might not sound as impactful as everything we have discussed so far. Content. It does not carry the same immediate weight as the waist, the neck, or the face. Content. But this is exactly why it is so often misunderstood, because its meaning is not in how obvious it is, but in how personal it is. Hair, for most women, is deeply tied to identity. It is not just a physical feature. It is an extension of how she expresses herself. Content. How she presents her femininity, how she maintains a sense of control over her appearance. Content. It is something she adjusts when she feels nervous, something she plays with when she is relaxed or engaged. Content. Something she fixes when she wants to feel composed again. Content. It is both conscious and unconscious at the same time. And because of that, it becomes one of the most honest indicators of what she is feeling internally. Content. Now I want you to slow down here because this is where nuance matters more than ever. This is not about you reaching for her hair. It is not about creating a moment. Content. It is about recognizing when the moment is already there. Content. Because the truth is, when a woman allows you into that space, she is not making some kind of calculated cold decision. Her body is responding before her mind has time to analyze it. Content. Imagine this scenario with me for a second. You are standing close, the conversation has softened. The energy between you feels different now, quieter, more present. Content. Maybe a strand of her hair falls across her face, and without thinking, you gently brush it aside. Content. Now, I want you to just pause with me for a brief moment. Because truly, in this journey, what happens next is everything. Does she lean slightly into your hand without realizing it? Content. Does her head tilt just enough to meet your touch rather than move away from it? Content. Do her eyes soften, maybe even close for a brief second, as if her body is allowing that moment to land fully? Content. Is there a small, unfiltered smile that appears, not forced, not polite, but natural? Content. Because if those things happen, even subtly, you are witnessing something powerful. That is not performance. It is something much more profound. Content. That is not her trying to be agreeable. That is her nervous system aligning with the moment. Content. That is emotional safety and physical comfort meeting at the same point. Content. And when those two things align, something shifts in a way that cannot be faked or forced. Her guard lowers, not because she decided to let it down, but because her body no longer feels the need to hold it up. Content. But I want to be very clear about something, because this is where people often misunderstand and misuse what they are learning. This is not a move. It is not something you try to make happen. Because the moment it becomes intentional in the wrong way, driven by an outcome, fueled by impatience or expectation, it loses everything that makes it real. Content. And she will feel that immediately. Content. Remember what we have been building throughout this entire conversation. Women do not just feel the touch. They feel the intention behind it. So if that intention carries pressure, neediness, or a desire to get somewhere, her body will close off just as quickly as it opened. Content. But when it happens naturally, when the connection is already there, when trust has been built quietly through presence, through awareness, through emotional alignment, content, it does not feel like escalation. It feels like continuation, like something that was already unfolding. Content, like something that was already unfolding, simply moving one step deeper without effort. Content. And that distinction is everything. It is the difference between attraction that flows and attraction that collapses. Content. Let me share something that captures this in a way that is simple but incredibly revealing. A woman once described a moment she experienced during a quiet evening walk. There was no big build-up, no dramatic flirting, no attempt to impress. Content. Just conversation, laughter, and a sense of ease that had developed naturally over time. Content. At one point, a strand of her hair fell across her face, and the man she was with gently moved it aside. Content. And when she spoke about that moment later, what stood out was not the action itself. It was how it felt. She said there was no hesitation, no awkwardness, no sense that he was trying to do something. Content. It felt natural, almost as if he was already close to her before he ever touched her. Content. That is what you are beginning to understand now. It is not about learning what to do. It is about becoming someone whose presence creates the conditions where these moments happen on their own. And here is the deeper psychological layer behind all of this. Content. When a woman responds positively to that level of touch, it is because multiple systems in her mind and body have aligned at once. Content. Her instinctive brain does not detect threat. Content. Her relational awareness senses connection, and her body follows that alignment without resistance. Content. This is why you will often hear women say something like, "I don't know why, but I just felt comfortable with him." That "I don't know why" is not confusion. It is subconscious clarity. Content. It means her body processed something her conscious mind did not need to explain. Content. Now let us bring this back to you in a practical, grounded way. Because understanding this is powerful, but applying it is what actually changes your experience. Content. You need to shift your focus away from outcomes. Content. Away from questions like, how do I get her to like me? Or what should I do next? Content. And towards something much simpler, but far more important. How does she feel in my presence right now? Content. Because if the answer is relaxed, open, at ease, you are already moving in the right direction. Content. You do not need to force anything forward. Content. You do not need to escalate. You do not need to chase clarity. It is already there. Content. But if the answer is uncertain, tense, slightly closed off, then no action, no technique, no perfectly timed move will override that. Content. And this is where emotional intelligence becomes your greatest advantage. Not analyzing every detail, not overthinking every reaction. Content, but staying grounded enough to notice what is real, to feel the interaction as it is happening instead of trying to control it. Content, allow moments to breathe, allow silence when it appears. Do not rush to fill every space with words or actions. Content. In the pauses, in the subtle shifts, in the moments that are not forced or defined. Content. And I want to challenge you with something now. Something that might shift your entire perspective if you really take it in. Content. What if the goal was never to win her over? What if it was never about doing the right things in the right order? Content. What if instead it was about becoming someone whose presence naturally creates a space where she feels comfortable moving closer? Content. Because when you stop chasing signals and start understanding them, everything changes. Content. And if you are starting to feel that shift, if something is clicking for you in a way it did not before, take a moment and acknowledge that. Content. Even just saying to yourself, I see this differently now, is a powerful step. Content. And if you want to go a little further, share that realization. It matters more than you think because it reinforces what you are beginning to understand at a deeper level. Content. Because what we are moving into next is not new information. It is integration, thought, content. It is taking everything we have talked about and bringing it into a way of thinking, a way of being, that you can actually carry into your real life. Content. Now let's bring all of this together because understanding each layer on its own is valuable. But real change happens when you begin to see how it all connects in real time, in real interactions, with real people. What we have been talking about is not a set of steps. It is not a formula you follow from point A to point B. It is a shift in awareness, a different way of experiencing connection altogether. Most men move through interactions trying to figure out what to do next. They are thinking ahead, anticipating, planning, adjusting their behavior based on what they hope will happen. And in doing that, they miss what is actually happening. Because the truth is, attraction is not built in the future. It is revealed in the present. It is revealed in the present, in the way she responds to you right now. In the way she responds to you right now. In the way her body opens or closes. In the way her body opens or closes. In the way her energy moves toward you or subtly pulls away. And when you begin to anchor yourself in that awareness, something changes in a very real, very noticeable way. You slow down, not externally in a forced or unnatural way, but internally. Not externally in a forced or unnatural way, but internally. Your attention becomes quieter, more focused, less scattered. You are no longer trying to impress her with constant words or actions. You are simply there, experiencing the interaction as it unfolds. And that presence is felt because most people are not fully present. Because most people are not fully present. They are distracted, preoccupied, thinking about themselves, their image, their next move. So when someone is actually grounded, actually attentive, actually aware, it stands out in a way that is difficult to explain, but easy to feel. And this is where you begin to understand something that is both simple and challenging at the same time. Connection is not created by doing more. It is created by needing less. It is created by needing less. Less force, less performance. Less force, experience internal weightlessness. Less performance, less trying to control the outcome. Less trying to control the outcome. And more allowing, more noticing, more responding to what is real instead of what you hope is happening. More noticing, more responding to what is real instead of what you hope is happening. More responding to what is real instead of what you hope is happening. Let me bring you into a moment that might feel familiar, because this is where everything we have discussed becomes visible all at once. Imagine you are with a woman, maybe sitting across from each other, maybe walking side by side. There is conversation, but it is not rushed. There are pauses, but they are not awkward. There is space for both of you to simply exist in the moment without filling every second. At some point, your proximity shifts. Maybe your arms brush lightly, maybe your hand rests near hers. Maybe there is a natural opportunity for contact, something that is not planned, not forced. And in that moment, instead of acting immediately, instead of jumping to, what should I do? You notice. You feel. You observe how she responds. Does she remain present, open, engaged? Does she remain present, open, engaged? Does she subtly move closer rather than away? Does she subtly move closer rather than away? Does her body soften instead of tighten? Because if the answer is yes, you do not need to question it. You do not need to analyze it. You do not need to analyze it. You simply stay with it. And if the answer is no, if there is hesitation, distance. And if the answer is no, if there is hesitation, distance, a shift in her energy, you respect that. Not as rejection, but as communication. But as communication, a silent conversation happening now. Because that is what this has been about from the very beginning. Touch is not an action. It is a conversation, one that happens without words. A conversation that happens without words. Every movement, every reaction, every small shift is part of that conversation. And when you stop trying to control it and start listening to it, something powerful happens. You stop the guessing game and find clarity. You stop all the overthinking and start being. You stop trying to be someone you are not, and instead you become someone who understands. Someone who can read what is happening without needing it to be explained. Someone who responds in a way that feels natural, grounded, and real, and that is what creates connection. Not intensity, not pressure, but a sense of ease. not pressure, but a sense of ease. A sense of ease, a sense of safety, a sense that being around you does not require effort or defense. Now I want you to reflect on something one last time, because this is where everything we have talked about becomes personal. Think about a time when you felt instantly comfortable around someone, not because they said something extraordinary, not because they impressed you, but because being around them felt easy. There was no tension, no need to perform, no underlying discomfort, just a quiet sense that you could be yourself without thinking about it. That feeling is what you are learning to create, not by trying to manufacture it, but by becoming more aware of your own presence, more grounded in yourself, more attentive to what is actually happening instead of what you want to happen. Because when you bring that into your interactions, everything shifts. You become calmer, more confident without needing to prove it, more connected without needing constant validation. And from that place, the signals you use to struggle to understand become clear. Not because they changed, but because you did. Take a second and acknowledge that. You can support this kind of deeper conversation in a simple way. A like on this video helps it reach more people who are still stuck in confusion. A comment allows you to reflect on what stood out to you, and it creates a space where others can learn from your perspective as well. And if you want to continue exploring this, if you want to go deeper into understanding human behavior, emotional intelligence, and the psychology behind connection, then staying connected here is the next step. Because what we have talked about today is just one layer. There is always more beneath the surface. But for now, I want to leave you with this. The goal was never to get closer to her body. The goal was to become someone she feels safe getting closer to. Because when that is in place, everything else happens naturally.